Moscow turns into hell under a brutal invasion of Ukrainian drones. And what hits Russia this Tuesday, May 19th, 2026, is not just another military operation far from the front. It's a political message coming through the skies of the capital, which Putin has always tried to present as untouchable. After days of Russian attacks against Ukrainian cities, Kyiv responded with a heavy wave of long-range drones, forcing airports to shut down, air defenses to fire, and residents to record explosions in the early morning. And the Kremlin admitted that it faced one of the heaviest aerial assaults since the beginning of the war. Russia itself reported more than 1,000 drones shot down in 24 hours across Russian territory, with dozens of them heading toward Moscow. And that's where the shock lies. The war that Putin pushed onto Ukraine is now showing up outside the windows of Russia's elite. It frightens the capital and exposes flaws in the regime's protection. And it shows that Ukrainian drones have become a simple, cheap, and painful weapon to bring the cost of the war right to the political heart of Moscow. I'll tell you all about this in a moment, but right now you'll want to be subscribed to the channel to stay well informed. Real-time information with the highest journalistic quality and a proven standard of credibility. Milson Alves. The attack happened after another heavy wave of Russian bombardments against Ukrainian cities. Kyiv was hit by missiles and drones, residential buildings were destroyed, and Volodymyr Zelensky promised a response. The response came by air with long-range drones launched against Russian targets. The operation was not a small symbolic action. According to the Russian Ministry of Defense, more than 1,000 Ukrainian drones were shot down across the country in just 24 hours. Just in the direction of Moscow, Mayor Sergei Sobyanin stated that 81 drones were shot down since midnight on May 17th. The strength of the episode lies precisely in that Moscow was not treated as untouchable. The Russian capital, surrounded by air defense systems, saw its airport suspend operations. Residents reported explosions, buildings suffered damage, and authorities rushed to contain the political impact of the attack. Sheremetyevo Airport, the largest in the Russian capital, reported that drone debris fell on its grounds, although there was no significant damage. For those who live in Moscow, this changes everything, because fear is no longer something seen only on state television, but has started to appear during a plane trip. In the neighborhood, by the window, and in the early morning noise, Ukraine used drones as they have become key weapons in modern warfare. There's no need to put pilots at risk, no need to cross the border with large military columns, and no need to rely only on expensive missiles. Drones make it possible to hit refineries, depots, factories connected to military production, command centers, and infrastructure that fuels the Russian war machine. Kyiv has been increasing this type of attack in recent weeks, precisely to reduce Moscow's ability to finance and sustain the war. Reuters reported that Ukraine has intensified deep strikes against Russian refineries, depots, and pipelines. The political target was Putin, the military target was the structure that keeps the war going. Ukraine stated that it hit oil facilities and a factory involved in the production of precision weapons on the outskirts of Moscow. It also said it attacked a command post linked to drone flights in an area occupied by the Russians in eastern Ukraine. Zelensky said that the response was justified in light of the continuation of the war and the attacks against Ukrainian cities. And he emphasized that Ukraine managed to hit targets more than 500 kilometers from the border, even with strong Russian air defenses around Moscow. Moscow felt the blow because the capital has always been presented as a showcase of control. Putin built a narrative of strength, order, and invulnerability. But Ukrainian drones making their way to the most protected region of Russia break that narrative. This image doesn't mean that Kyiv has taken Moscow, nor that the war is over. It means something politically dangerous for the Kremlin. The Russian population has started to realize that the war also takes its toll at home. The impact has shown up in deaths, injuries, and material damage. Russian local authorities said that at least 4 people were killed in Ukrainian attacks, including 3 in the Moscow region. Sobyanin reported injuries near the entrance to the Moscow oil refinery and damage to houses. The regional governor, Andrei Vorobyov, said that a woman died in Khimki, north of the capital, and that other deaths occurred in Pogorelki, in the Mytishchi district. Residential buildings and infrastructure facilities were also damaged, according to Russian authorities. The difference this time is that the attack was not hidden in a dry government statement. Images, accounts from residents, and the authorities' own reaction showed that the operation disrupted daily life in the capital. The Associated Press pointed out that it is becoming harder for the Kremlin to sell the war as something distant from the daily lives of Russian civilians. The same report noted that the weekend air offensive in the Moscow region killed 3 people, injured another 12, damaged buildings and houses, and also hit areas related to oil. And here comes the most sensitive point. For Putin, Ukraine is not just retaliating out of anger, it is using drones to wear down the Russian war economy. Zelensky said that in recent months, Russia's refining capacity has dropped by 10 and that oil wells have been shut down. This Tuesday, Reuters also reported that drones hit an industrial facility in the Yaroslavl region, an area where there is oil refining infrastructure. While attacks continued in Kursk, Rostov, and other Russian regions, Russia tried to respond with the usual narrative. The Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs accused Kyiv of targeting civilians, while both sides denied deliberately attacking civilians. But the problem for the Kremlin is that Russia's own records confirm the scale of the attack. When Moscow says it shot down more than 1,000 drones in 24 hours, it is trying to sell the idea that its defenses are effective. But at the same time, it admits that it faced enormous aerial pressure, coordinated and spread across several regions. The attack also showed a technological shift. The Associated Press highlighted that Ukraine's ability to break through Moscow's air defenses reflects the growth of its drone arsenal and the improvement of Ukrainian tactics. The Russian capital is the hardest target, precisely because it concentrates air defense. But this barrier hasn't prevented drones from reaching the region and causing damage, delays, and fear. Now what's happening is an escalation of pressure. Russia tends to intensify attacks against Ukrainian cities, as it already did after the offensive on Moscow, hitting Odessa and Dnipro with missiles and drones. Ukraine tends to keep targeting structures that support the Russian war effort, mainly energy, military industry, and command centers. The Kremlin may try to censor videos, restrict mobile internet access, and control the narrative. But every drone that appears in the Moscow sky creates a crack in the narrative of absolute security. Moscow hasn't fallen, but the message has been delivered. The Russian capital has come within reach of the war that Putin started and tried to manage as if it were someone else's problem. The Ukrainian drones have shown that distance no longer protects the Russian elite as it once did, that airports can be shut down, refineries can go on alert, and neighborhoods close to power can hear it happening. Ukraine has found a cheap, political, and painful way to respond, attacking the machinery that fuels the war and forcing Moscow to feel the conflict at home. I'm Milson Alves, an international affairs specialist, and my goal is to keep you accurately informed every day. The news links are in the video description. Leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and at the end, check out the comments so you can be even more engaged with the community. Milson Alves, see you next time.